Hello. Still sick, still here, but let's do this video while I still have the energy. So the other day I was slurping noodles and watching the second season of Sandman and scrolling through comments on this video that I saw, and there was a comment there. One of the comments said how this person is creepy with his daughter, with the comments that they have said about their daughter. And someone else jumped in, was like, well, this other person took showers with his daughter. And just reading that, even in my whole mental fogness state, I was like, I wanted to jump in there and beat my chest and be like, not true. I was ready to write a full-blown thesis in the comments about how that was not true. But then you have those pauses in this surreal moment where within that pause you look within, inspect, and do this tally of things. It's almost like a computation happening in real time during that pause that is barely a second. That's what happened. I watched my defensiveness rise. I felt the urgency to respond. And then intentionally, I slowed it down when I asked that question. Why am I reacting this way? And here's what I realized. I was reacting like that because I had tied part of my identity to that person that I was trying to defend, to the ideas that I associated with that person, to the side and the party that that person represent. I had tied all of that to my identity. And I was like, oh my God. Because I understand how important, how strong that is when you tie your identity to something. That method is used in habit forming, sustaining habits. You know why? Because when you tie your identity to a way of being, to a habit, you're going to keep that habit because that's part of you. That's your identity. I'm a fitness person. I'm a weightlifter. Of course you're going to lift weight. You're a weightlifter. That's your entire life, right? That's your identity. And when I noticed that, I was like, it clicked. Because once your identity is hinged to something, anything that threatens it feels like a personal attack on you. Someone saying you're bad, not just the person that they're referring to. If they are referring to the person, you see it as they're referring to me. I'm bad. They're saying that that person is bad. They're saying I'm bad too because I'm tied to that person. And then I walked it even further back. I was like, that's how I'm reacting. So then that's how other people as well are connecting the dots. When somebody goes after their candidate, the person that they have tied their identity to, or the idea, or the party, or the group. That's why they get defensive on social media. That's why trolls troll. Because some folks aren't defending an idea, they're defending themselves. I was like, in that kind of fusion where identity, ego, and belief all blend together can be dangerous. But you heard me before, it can also be beneficial. So you gotta be very careful here. But it can be dangerous because it makes us ignore red flags. It makes us justify things we would normally be appalled by. So I asked myself, what if I don't tie my identity to a person or a party? What if I keep space between who I am and what I believe? What if I can let people be people, right? Flawed and complex as they are, without letting it feel like a personal hit when they mess up. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with connecting identity to a cause or a movement. It is nothing wrong with that. That's how change happens. We get very passionate about it, right? And then we invoke this certain motivation, which then other people see, and then it snowballs into this big movement for change. But there's a line, because when the cause becomes a shield or a mask or a reason to abandon your ethics, when you don't hold someone accountable because doing so feels humiliating to you because you have tied your identity to that person or that idea, that party, or that movement, then calling them out feels like calling yourself out. So then you ignore it or you defend it, even though it would have been appalling to you. You would have understood it to be morally or ethically wrong before tying yourself to it. Then that's when it's a problem. Now we have a problem. Because when accountability feels like an attack, not because it is, but because it threatens the version of yourself that stood by them, that's when it's time to pause, right? To reassess, to ask, is this still about them, or am I protecting my own ego now? And I'm glad I caught myself in that moment. I'm glad I did like this pause, because now when I feel the wave of emotion, I can pause intentionally. I can choose not to react. I can respond, not from ego, but from clarity. And that is powerful. So I want you to tell me, have you ever caught yourself reacting like that? And what happened when you slowed it down? Let's keep our identities rooted in something stronger than a public figure. Let's stay grounded on truth, even when it stings. And let's stay human.